Hey everybody, it's Mickey Williams with My Life Out Loud with Mickey. Happy Saturday. I'm coming back at you with another word that God gave me, and I'm just sharing it. As you all know, this channel is just for me to be able to share how I get through each and every day, day by day. And with the word that God gives me, I share with others so maybe it can help someone. I always tell people it's not for everybody, but it's for somebody, okay? All right, so let's get to it. Let's talk about it. All right, so in this word, God took me to because I've been talking a lot about triggers. So one thing I've noticed about being triggered is basically triggers stream from that what we call those things that lie dormant. Those things that we thought we got past, but we didn't because some of us didn't take the time to fully heal. You know how you're in one of them relationships, as example, you in a relationship, and instead of you healing from the relationship, if it was a experience that hurt you or experience that caused some sort of damage or wounds or cuts, scrapes, whatever, if they did that and you went on to get a rebound, then you know you did not heal, because a lot of people they can't take the pain. It's a lot of pain involved, in relationships. It's a lot of pain involved when you had something in mind and it didn't work out, and we seem to get hurt from that. A lot of us, we pick up the pieces as much as we can and we move on with what we think that we can move on with. And then a lot of us heal in time. Like, we might be in another relationship and still be healing throughout the relationship, and sometimes that can not be so good for you and the next person, depending on who the next person was. Now, if that next person was, heavenly sent, then no matter what you're going through, they're going to understand it and they're going to be able to love you through it, right? That was a side note. That must be for somebody. So whoever you got in your life and it feels like you might be jacking it up because you're still dealing with some issues, if that person loves you unconditionally, male, female, I don't know who this is for, then you let that person love you, because if you prayed for God to heal you, then that person might just have what it takes to love you through it so that you can heal. Okay? So respect that person and appreciate them being in your life. Now, moving along, back to the triggers, is that's how most people end up getting triggered, is because they have not healed. So along the way, you're getting triggered by things that you decided that you thought was you were past and that you were done with. But then when something comes up that looks familiar to what you already been through in that painful moment, then you start to think, you in that moment again, right? And that's how it feels. So you start to react as if you're in that same experience, but you're not. So in these moments is why we have to use our wisdom to know, wait, this is not the same thing. And if you are in a situation where it is the same thing and it just not appearing to be the same thing, right? But it is the same thing, that means you're in a pattern for a reason, and now you got to figure out why you're stuck in this pattern of dealing with familiar places or familiar people. So that means there's something you need to change about yourself. It's not the people that needs to change, it's something you need to change. And that's me, again, being transparent. I go into atmospheres when we talk about these low frequencies, and these frequencies might seem high to you and they might seem okay to you, but if you're starting to get triggered in these atmospheres of being around certain people, and it's probably no longer for you. It could have been something that was for you in another season, but you might have grown out of that, so now you're being triggered. So you just got to be careful of what your triggers are. And I'm so big on triggers right now, because when you don't have a lot, let me tell you something. People right now can have a job, have a home. They're not wanting for anything. We all want to go higher. We all want to enlarge our territory. But you can have a home, a car, a good relationship going on, a good marriage. You can have beautiful kids. And still, for some odd reason, there's these triggers. We don't even know where they come from, right? But they're there because it's something that happened to you along the way, okay? And sometimes it's generational, right? It's just a generational thing. Some people are never satisfied because they might have grew up in a family that just was never satisfied. Nobody, had the spirit of being satisfied. Nobody had the spirit of gratitude. They always wanted instant gratification, or they always took the short routes and shortcuts to get to everything. So you have those situations as well that you know, also that actually streams from the past, you know, growing up in certain atmospheres, having certain family members. It all streams, you know, from life itself in the journey. So, moving right along, God had allowed me to actually hear a word and take in a word. And this word to me was so profound because what I enjoyed about it is that I keep paying attention to how Hannah kept being provoked. Okay? So, provoked just basically means triggered. She kept being triggered. She kept being provoked. To me, that's a trigger. You know, you messing with me. You know I don't have no kids, but yet you keep reminding me that I don't have no kids. Now, when I'm fine, I'm fine. But then when you come and you start talking about when you're going to have a baby, now I'm triggered because I don't have a baby. Right? So that's what a trigger is. In this, it actually lets you know that Hannah was trying to have kids for her husband. Now, Peninnah, she had kids. She had kids for her husband. Now, her husband loved her so much that she didn't have to have kids for her husband. But she felt as though she needed to have kids for her husband because that was going to make her a complete woman for her, right? That was going to make her a real wife, that I can bear children for my husband. And it became a bitterness to her that, you know, Peninnah could have all these kids, but I can't. And then her rival, which is meaning who's ever, you know, coming and basically picking with her, you know, is triggering her. But what I notice as you go along in is 1 Samuel chapter 1, and you see Hannah goes and she prays about her situation. And when she prayed about her situation, it actually made it where God, oh, sorry. It actually made it where God was able to answer her prayers. And when he answered her prayers, he gave her a child. But then she said, whatever you give me, I give unto thee. Basically, I give it to you, God. If you give me a child, I promise you this is your child, not mine. So once God gave her the child, the trigger was no longer there. And it takes me to a situation where God was showing me that this is about to be a season where people are going to no longer have triggers. Now, it depends on what your triggers are and what has been provoking you, you know, to go into depression, what has been provoking you to be bitter, what has been provoking you to be angry or frustrated or impatient. Whatever's provoking you, it can be a moment in your life, it can be timing, it can be somebody to be like, girl, you ain't do this yet, boy, you still driving that same car, you know. It could be things provoking these triggers, like to upset you, to depress you, to oppress you, and to press you down, right? When we're supposed to be pressing forward, we have things that oppress us down, and these are triggers, and most of them sometimes come from accomplished things that's been unaccomplished. Okay, and unaccomplished to me accompanies complete. So there's some things that you feel has been incomplete in your life, and God is saying, okay, I'm going to complete you in this season. I'm going to give you the desires of your heart in this season. Now, when I give you the desires of your heart this season, say if it's financial freedom, then I need you to make sure that you're praying about everything you're doing when you're making financial moves, right? Because I might want you to give to this organization. I might want you to help your neighbor because, you know, you don't know, but God knows her lights is out. You know, I might want you to knock on her door one day and just tell her, here, God told me to give you this. So when God go to give you something in this season, whether it's a wife or a husband, God want to be involved. When you feel as though, you know, you're feeling sometimes, you know, God has filled the void of giving you the wife, right? He's filling in the gaps. So he's going to give you the wife. He's going to give you the husband. Now, your job is to make sure that you give your wife and your husband back to God once you receive them. Your job is to give your money back to God once you receive it. Okay? If it's a kid, your job is to give your kid back to God once you receive it. Okay? So this is what's going to follow these blessings, meaning that Anything that I give unto you, give it back to me so that I can make sure that that it's going to be a blessing, that it's going to remain a blessing, that's going to continuously be a blessing. And not only just you're saying, okay, this is not just going to be a marriage, this is going to be a kingdom marriage. So that's why you're giving it to God. This is not just going to be, debt free and money coming your way. This is going to be kingdom finances. Okay, so these things are coming from kingdom because you are a kingdom child. Now, most people go off and they get these things and they start to do it selfishly because we just all know that, we know what we're doing because we're human and we grown. So we know what we're doing. I've mentioned this before, but do you really know what you're doing? Because why you have to pray and ask God for a wife? You have to pray and ask God to show you how to be a husband, how to be a wife. And then once you get the husband or you get the wife or you get the finances, you get the job, you get the car, then now you think you did it by yourself. Let's be mindful. Once you get it, give it straight to God. Now, God, this is yours. Thank you for what you've done for me. I'm grateful and I'm thankful enough that I'll allow you to oversee these gifts that you've given me. Okay? And that's what Hannah did. Hannah wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to keep being bitter, but I'm going to pray about it. And then when God gave it to her, she gave it back to him. Meaning that this is now your son, God. Not, oh, this is my son, I'm going to cherish him. I'm going to cherish my son to the point where I don't want nobody touching him, holding him, picking him up. I don't want nobody talking, No, I'm giving them to you, God. Whatever you will have to do with his life, let your will be done. So in this situation, whatever you got going on, let God's will be done. Nevertheless, let his will be done. So if you read 1 Samuel with Hannah and how she went through all of these things and the crazy part is she was loved so much by her husband. Like it even tells you how he would go give his sacrifice. He would give meat to his kids and Peninnah. But then when it came to Hannah, he would give her a double portion because he loved her that much. So sometimes these triggers, like I said, it doesn't come from what, it doesn't come from what we have. It comes from what you don't have. So I think it's a season where we need to focus on what we do have. If you got a roof over your head, be grateful. It might not be that mansion you want with them heated floors and that infinity pool, but it's a roof over your head. And some of us also have to face the fact that some of these dreams that we have, I'm not going to say you will never get there. I would never say that because I want to see everybody get to their dreams, to their goals, and what they want in life. And I also want them to get to the mindset that can get them there. That's the most important part. But what I will say is, don't fantasize so much that you don't understand that your reality may not accomplish that. So you got people that's living in these fantasies of wanting to do certain things, but they really don't even want to get off the couch, right? Then they start treating the people around them like they already got it. And then you forget, like, dude, hey, hello, this is me. This is not your butler. This is not your, Sometimes you got to remind your wife or your husband, I'm not your servant, I got your back, but I'm not your butler, because we live in these fantasy worlds and we want these things, but we have to also live in the reality that we don't have them yet. And then we have to also pay attention to how we can get them and why we don't have them. Is there some changes that need to be made? Is something I need to do? How do I need to do it? Like, you can't expect certain things sitting on the couch all day. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, yeah, I was always told money don't grow on trees. So that means you got to go get it. Oh, thank you, Holy Spirit, for the reminder. I had my aunt call me one day. She literally called me one day. You know what she said? I was younger. It was some years ago. And she said, you're not Halle Berry, don't you? I said, yes, I know I'm not Halle Berry. And I caught it in the spirit, though. What she's saying is, I hope you got a plan in place because you don't have Halle Berry's money. You don't have her status. And I hope you have your plans in place. And that's how the conversation kind of went, And at first, it would have threw anybody else off like, what? I'm not even trying to, but okay, where is this going, right? But it made a lot of sense later, meaning like, You're not going to just get it with your good looks. You're not going to just get it, just sitting on a couch. You're not going to just get it because you go buy a nice car and you pull up on some beautiful females. Sooner or later, them females going to know you're struggling to pay that car note. Sooner or later, females going to know not only is you struggling to pay the car note, but you live with your mother. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's okay if that's the way you're living your life. But if you're fantasizing about somewhere you want to be, just make sure that you're taking the right steps to get to it. And that way, even if you got to fake it till you make it, at least you know you're on your way somewhere. And just them triggers will get in front of you too and be like, you're not there yet. Like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, I'm not there yet. It's been 3 years and I still haven't done this. It's been 3 years, I still haven't done that. So be careful of that as well, because it's always you versus you, as I talked about in the last video. So that's all I have, you guys, for today. Just make sure you understand, read 1 Samuel chapter 1 for yourself to get your own revelation, as I always say. And take this word to God, and whatever I'm telling you, like, put it on the shelf and see where you can apply it to your life. If you can't, that's fine. But for somebody out there that can, I pray that this helps you, okay? Just know that, Hannah went through the struggle, and the struggle was real for her. And she was being triggered by people, which had her bitter. But then she decided to pray and say, God, take this bitter cup from me, right? And can you help me? Have a child. Can you open my womb? That's a big prayer to ask for. But how big was it? Because nothing's too big for God. And then, boom, her prayer was answered. So all I want to let you know, guys, pray about your triggers. Pray about what's going on in you. Pray about what come up against you that try to make you bitter, that try to depress you or frustrate you. No matter what that is, don't keep sweeping it under the rug and acting like you're so strong. Okay? Side note. You don't have to be that strong. It's okay to be strong, but it's also strong to recognize your weaknesses, because your weaknesses is actually your best strengths. If somebody's messing with your love and you can't use it anymore, that's one of your best strengths. Somebody's messing with your head and you can't focus, that's one of your biggest strengths, right? Come on. You doing things that's messing with your health, that's one of your biggest strengths. So in this moment, pray about it. Seek God's face. Know what your triggers are. Learn what triggers you. You'll know a trigger because your emotions will be alerted during a trigger, right? Whether it's good or bad. You know a good trigger from a bad trigger, okay? When I get triggered with goodness, I'm like, ah! When I get triggered with bad, I'm like, okay? So you know the difference. But all right, you guys, that's all I got. Happy Saturday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be safe out there. Use your discernment. Stay focused. Use your discernment. Stay focused. Use your discernment and stay focused. Stay the course, most of all. In Jesus' name. Bye.